Good morning, all of you. In today's session, we are going to start with CSR NET GRF Chemical Science, June 2014, Part B, Series 1. Part B consists of questions from 21 to 70 of chemistry. So, Part A will be arithmetic, reasoning, and all those, right? So, that's the reason why Part B session have been made into 3 different series. In each series, we are going to cover 15, 20, and 15 questions respectively. Okay. So earlier we completed 2015, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 academic year CSR NET GRF Chemical Science question papers of both the sessions June and December, and detailed explanation solved question papers are available on the channel called World of Competitive Chemistry. This kind of standard previous year question paper of CSR NET GRF will fetching you towards aspiration towards the research and entrance examination, competitive exams as well. Let us discuss about today's topic. CSR NET GRF Chemical Science, June 2014, Part B Series 1 consists of questions from 21 to 35. Let us go with question number 21. It is the part of organic chemistry, the correct order of basicity for the following anions. It is orthonitrophenol, meta-nitrophenoxide, and para-nitrophenoxide was given. Among all, where the basicity will be larger, that to be predicted. What is mean by basicity? Basicity is nothing but, so in accordance with Lewis, because here Bronsted cannot be employed, that's why we have to consider Lewis basicity here. Lewis basicity is nothing but electron pair donor. Here phenoxide being it is negatively charged, there is a provision to release electrons so that it will behave like a base. Phenoxide will be a conjugate base of phenol, right? So whenever this phenoxide is attached with nitro functional group in their ortho, para and meta positions, then what will be the order of its basicity? What is the difference in their basicity? For that purpose, so let us see the structure of orthonitro and meta-nitro, para-nitro. So when meta-nitro was taken, this phenoxide charge. So what is the nature of nitro functional group? Nitro functional group having tendency to pull the electrons from the benzene ring. It will diminish the electron density on the benzene ring. Subsequently, this phenoxide will be back migrated towards benzene ring rather than releasing electrons to outside electrophile, so that its basic nature will be decreased in general. Because so there are certain groups which used to increase the electron density on the ring and decrease the electron density on the ring. Being nitro is the electron decreasing nature, electron withdrawing functional group, it will destroy the electron density. Subsequently, basicity will be lowered. Whenever this phenoxide attached with a methyl or methoxy functional group, electron density will be raised. Subsequently, its a basic nature will be raised. But here we have nitro group a different position. Then based on its position, its basicity will be altered. Let us see how it could be. So when phenoxide is there, what happens here? Nitro being it is electron withdrawing, it used to attain the electrons, but negative charge is not moving towards nitro functional group when it is present at meta position. Means there is no direct electron pulling nature by this nitro when it is present at this meta position. So you can clearly observe this negative charge is localized at ortho and even para position. So that here means electron density not much destroyed by this substitution at meta position. So it will become somewhat more basic among given 3 options. So option number 2 is having higher basicity. Later, when we consider ortho and para position, so in ortho and para position, when you consider ortho position having close proximity with respect to phenoxide, so that this negative charge is strongly attracted towards nitro, and here electron density will be decreased whenever this nitro group present at ortho position, it will become ortho nitro becomes least basic among all the given options. So 1 is least, 2 is highest, and 3 will be the moderate one. That series is provided in the option number 1. This purely explained based on the resonance stabilized negative charge distribution. In the delocalization of electrons, here negative charge is localized at ortho and para position rather than meta, so that meta will not impact this release of electrons. So here second will be higher basic. So and the least basic one will be ortho, because of close proximity with the phenoxide having strong tendency to pull the negative charge towards that. So it will diminish the electron density in the stronger extent, so the basicity will be lowered. So in that case, option 2 will be higher, followed by 3, and the least is imparted for compound number 1. For question number 21, option number 1 is the correct answer. Let us move on to question number 22. The major product formed in the reaction of 2,5-hexane dione with P2O5. Here it is the part of reagent chemistry. P2O5 being it is a dehydrating agent, and whenever it added to dione system, obviously it will participate in the ketoenol tautomerism. Subsequently, removal of water molecule, and we will get a cyclic system of oxygen. Cyclic system of oxygen only provided in the option number 1. Remaining, there is no ambiguity, there is no confusion to get the product, because P2O5 being it is the dehydrating agent. Here we have dione system. Initially, let us see the detailed mechanism. When we take this dione system of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 carbon chain, right? So there is a possibility of ketoenol tautomerism, and we got to enolic hydroxy functional group at which position? Second and fifth position. So that P2O5 being it is a dehydrating, used to remove the water from these two hydroxy functional groups, and it subsequently converted into the furan derivative. So here second and fifth position two methyl groups are there, and it is the furan compound. That is given in the option number 1. For question number 22, option number 1 is the correct answer. Let us move on to question number 23. Again, it is a part of organic chemistry where stereochemistry can be employed here. The absolute configuration of two stereogenic, nothing but chiral centers in the following molecule is. Where can you find the chiral centers? What is meant by chiral center? Chiral center is nothing but wherever the carbon attached with the 4 different functional groups around that is called a chiral, and a non-symmetric, asymmetric, you can say, right? So when we assign numbering for this system, alpha, beta, unsaturated, it is the kind of terpene, right? It is the kind of terpene compound. We have to assign absolute configuration. What is meant by absolute configuration? Assigning RS notations to the compound is called absolute configuration. R is nothing but clockwise rotation from higher to lower priority. S is nothing but anti-clockwise rotation from higher to lower priority functional group. Let us assign numbering, and let us go with its absolute configuration. The numbering of this terpene compound is given in this manner: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6-membered ring system it is, and alpha, beta, unsaturated carbonyl group is there. And where can you find the stereogenic center? Where is the chirality is there? Chirality is nothing but wherever 4 different groups are present. Let us consider carbon number 5. When carbon number 5 is considered, this is one of the alkyl group with a double bond, and this is another alkyl group long chain with a second position having methyl and ethyl functional group, and this is another carbon with the isopropyl functional group, and one more hydrogen will be present on this. So that you can consider carbon number 5 is not having similar alkyl groups on it, so that all 4 are different. You can assign this as a chiral center. So that I indicated 5th carbon with a star mark. Star mark denotes it is the chiral carbon. And let us go with carbon number 6. Carbon number 6, this is one of the alkyl group, and this is another alkyl group. One is ethyl, another is methyl. 4 different functional groups are surrounded around the 6th carbon, so that you can say 6th carbon even chiral carbon. So that 6th carbon also assigned with the star mark, because in the compound we have 2 chiral centers, 5th and 6th position. Now, let us assign numbering for 5th and 6th carbon. First, I am considering 5th carbon. Let us assume this is the 5th carbon. One side alkyl group, either side also alkyl group is there. One isopropyl group and one more hydrogen which is not indicated within the figure. So Obviously, if two groups on the plane, one group away from the weir and the next group will be towards the weir. So what is that? Hydrogen will be towards the weir. This is about the arrangement of functional groups at a fifth carbon atom. Right. In accordance with Kahn-Ingold Prelog protocols, we have to assign numbering for all these functional groups, and highest to lowest, if it is clockwise, anti-clockwise, we have to assign, right? So let us assume this is a chiral carbon. Around the chiral carbon, here carbon, carbon, carbon. 3 carbons only present. It is not possible to assign the priority. Higher atomic number will get higher priority, but all are carbons, so that it is not possible to predict. Then we have to go for next atom attached with that. This carbon is attached with a double bond, and this carbon attached with a single bond, this carbon also single bond. So always double bond will get the priority over single bond. That's the reason why obviously isopropyl will be assigned with the number 1 position, and followed by here one carbon unsubstituted, here one carbon methyl ethyl substituted is there, so that for this carbon you can assign number 2, because it is attached with the one ethyl functional group at this position. You can see here, right? So let us go with this carbon. This carbon is CH2 carbon, so that it will be given with 3, number 3. And hydrogen, being it is atomic number 1, always given with option number 4, right? So fourth one. So let us move on from first group to second to third in this manner. What is the rotation? It is moving in the clockwise manner. It is moving in the clockwise manner. But in either protocol of Kahn-Ingold says that if least priority group is towards the weir, whatever rotation is there. So if it is clockwise rotation, what is the absolute configuration? Clockwise rotation denotes R configuration, anti-clockwise rotation denotes S configuration, right? So here you can clearly see that this arrow is moving in the clockwise manner, so that you can assign R configuration for this. But there is an ambiguity. What is that? Hydrogen is towards the weir, being it is the fourth priority. Entire configuration will be inverted. There should be the inversion of the configuration. If hydrogen is away from the weir, need not to change the configuration. Whatever configuration we are getting, that remains as such. Okay, but in case of this compound, hydrogen is towards the weir. That's why clockwise rotation imparting R, but it will become S. It will become S, so that fifth carbon atom, at this fifth carbon atom, the configuration, absolute configuration will be S configuration. Then let us consider at the sixth carbon. So this is the sixth carbon I am taking. At the sixth carbon, we have adjacent C double bond O group. On that sixth carbon, one methyl, one ethyl is there, and adjacent we have this fifth carbon. So that is attached with isopropyl, right? So here this is the sixth carbon we are considering. At that sixth carbon, it is indicated with star, being it is the chiral center, right? So whenever carbon double bond O is there, carbon double bond C is there, obviously carbon double bond O will get priority over carbon double bond, because oxygen atomic number will be higher when compared to carbon, right? That's why carbonyl group carbon will be assigned with number 1, and followed by next carbon which is attached with this ethyl, and followed by this carbon, and methyl will be assigned with the least priority. So because the carbon attached with the 3 hydrogens, right, that's why methyl will get fourth, and again it is towards the weir, so that whatever configuration we are getting, that will be inverted. So here 1 2 2 2 2 3, we are moving in which rotation? Anti-clockwise rotation. So anti-clockwise rotation actually gives S configuration, but being it is a fourth priority towards the weir, we have to entirely invert the absolute configuration. So now S can be converted into R. So at fifth position, S configuration is there. At sixth position, R configuration is there. 5S, 6R is provided in option number 3. For question number 23, option number 3 is the correct answer. This is in accordance with Kahn-Ingold Prelog rules, and absolute configuration denotes a RS configuration, right? So purely it is applicable to chiral carbons containing optically active compounds, right? So for question number 23, option number 3 is the correct answer. Let us move on to question number 24. The correct statement about the following molecule. Again, it is a part of stereochemistry. Here, two benzene rings are there and they attached with CH2, CH2. Here also CH2, CH2 groups are there. Okay. So here, two more bromo groups are present within the molecule. So if bromo groups are not there within the molecule, just you can put a horizontal plane, you can put a vertical plane, you can put a center of symmetry, you can put a C2 axis of symmetry. Everything are possible if these two bromo groups are not present within the molecule. But when these two bromo groups are present, let us put a horizontal plane. Sigma horizontal plane was inserted. What happens? That sigma horizontal plane will not cut into equal halves. If we are inserting vertical plane, if this vertical plane was kept, what happens? Again, it is not possible to bisect the molecule into two identical halves. So here plane of symmetry is absent within the molecule. Let us rotate molecule from this axis. I'm taking this as a principal axis and rotating the molecule. We will not get a reflection, and here also rotation will not give the reflection, so that alternative axis of symmetry is also absent. From the center, if we are extending the two hypothetical lines, we are not getting identical halves. One side benzene is there and another side dibromobenzene is there, so that both are not identical, and center of symmetry is also absent. If any molecule is with lack of all the symmetry elements, that is assigned with the chiral compound. So that will become a chiral compound. So molecule is chiral and possess chiral plane. So here that is purely because of presence of dibromo functional groups on this benzene. If these two bromo groups are not present, then you can clearly say there is a possibility of sigma plane, there is a possibility of vertical sigma plane, there is a possibility of center of symmetry and C2 axis of symmetry as well. But in this molecule, being it is a dibromobenzene of one of the center and another is non-substituted, so there is no symmetry. So the molecule is asymmetric. Subsequently, it will be a chiral and exhibit chiral plane. For question number 24, option number 1 is the correct answer. Let us move on to question number 25. Again, it is the part of organic chemistry and stereochemistry question again. Consider the following statements about cis and trans decalines, right? Cis and trans decalines were given, and what are the statements are correct? Let us read the statements first. Cis isomer is more stable than trans isomer. Whether it is correct or not, we have to check it. Trans isomer is more stable than cis isomer. Trans isomer undergoes ring flip, cis isomer undergoes ring flip. Which statements are correct? We have to depict. Let us see. Cis and trans decalin. Decalin is nothing but, deca means what? How many carbons? It will be 10 carbons, 1, right? So here decalin is nothing but a bicyclic ring system. Decalin is nothing but a bicyclic ring system. If bridged hydrogens are in the opposite orientation, that is called a trans decalin. If two bridged carbon hydrogens are towards the VR, that is said to be a cis decalin. Trans decalin can be represented in the conformations of cyclohexane chair form conveniently. Both the chair forms are inclined in this manner, right? So both are in the equatorial position. Both are in the equatorial position. And whenever cis isomer is considered, one of the chair form is in equatorial position, another chair form in the axial position. So here, from this diagram, you can clearly understand that trans is more stable when compared to cis, because whenever bulky group present in the axial position, that not at all favorable, because it will induce ring strain. That's the reason why cis isomer will be least stable when compared to trans isomer, because in the trans isomer, both the ring systems are inclined in the equatorial manner, whereas in the cis one of the ring is in equatorial, another ring is in axial position. And here you can clearly assume here this carbon is inclined the equatorial, this carbon also inclined in the equatorial position. But in this cis isomer, this carbon is equatorial, but this carbon is axial one. This is the axial carbon, and here you can clearly see that we expect a trans-decalin is more stable by the energy difference of 1.75 kilocalories more stable. So by this extent of energy stability is imparted for trans isomer when compared to cis decalin. So this is the energy gap between the cis and the trans isomers. From this, it is very obvious that trans will be the more stable when compared to cis. Option number B is the correct answer. That is given in the first one and last. That means fourth option. First and fourth option, option B is given. Let us go with second possibility. Second possibility we will discuss. So here, whenever carbon hydrogen bonds are broken, trans-decalin is relatively rigid. Being it is a stable molecule, it will not participate in any kind of transformations. Unlike cyclohexene, two rings cannot flip. Flipping is nothing but interchanging their positions or rotating themselves. That kind of possibility will not be present in case of trans isomer. Being it is a rigid molecule, it will not participate in any kind of bond transformations. So here they will be in their fixed positions only. Accordingly, orientation of substituents is fixed in chair-chair conformation of trans-decalin. The chair-chair conformation of cis-decalins are relatively flexible. How can we say? Being it is somewhat unstable molecule, one of the ring system is participating in the ring flipping. That will be flipped, that will be rotated. And inversion of both rings at once occurs fairly easily. Barrier to inversion is about 14 kilocalories. In order to flip the molecule, 14 kilocalories of energy is required for this one. A substituent therefore can interconverted between the axial to equatorial conformation. So this is the kind of ring flipping where initially the molecule in this manner, so that we completely rotate the molecule by 180 is called a ring flipping. So entirely moving in the 180 degrees rotation by gaining 14 kilocalories of energy, that is called ring flipping. So initially, if equatorial methyl is there, after flipping, after rotation, that group will be converted into a axial position. So entirely inversion configuration will be inverted within the molecule. That is purely possible in the cis rather than trans isomer. So they mentioned trans isomer undergoes ring flip. It is not correct statement. Cis isomer undergoes ring flip is the correct statement, right? Being it is the highly unstable one, cis isomer rapidly participate in the ring inversion. Consequently, its conformation will be entirely changed. Option number B and D are having correct answers. B, D are provided in the first one. For question number 25, option number 1 is the correct answer. Let us move on to question number 26. It is a part of inorganic chemistry. In bis dimethyl glyoxymato nickel 2, the number of nickel nitrogen, nickel oxygen, and intramolecular hydrogen bonds respectively. Here, this is the system called a nickel dimethyl glyoxam. So this is the important compound which is generated in the gravimetric analysis of nickel. When nickel treated with the chelating ligand, glyoxime, when nickel treated with glyoxime of 2 equivalents. So here that will be forming a cyclic chelate ring with the nickel, where nickel surrounded by 4 nitrogen bonds. Nickel glyoxime is nothing but C double bond N OH. On this carbon we have CH3, second carbon also CH3 is there, double bond N OH, right? So this is the glyoxime, and 2 moles of glyoxime treated with nickel, so that we will get a square planar complex. Around the nickel, square planar geometry will be assigned with this one. And this nickel bis dimethyl glyoxime is bonded with 4 bonds. 4 coordinate covalent bonds are imparted in between nitrogen and nickel. So that nickel nitrogen bonds, how many are there? 1, 2, 3, 4. So nickel nitrogen bonds are 4. That is given in the option number 1 and option number 4. So here 4 nickel nitrogen bonds are present. And the second question they are asking about nickel oxygen bonds. So oxygen is not imparting any kind of coordinate covalent bond formation in this molecule. How many direct nickel oxygen bonds are there? 0. 0 is given in the option number 1 and option number 4 again. So let us move on to third question. They are asking intramolecular hydrogen bonding. What is meant by intramolecular? What is meant by intermolecular? Intramolecular is nothing but within the molecule, if hydrogen bonding is possible, that is called intramolecular. If one molecule forms hydrogen bonding with any other outside molecule, that is called a what intermolecular hydrogen bond. Being it is intramolecular hydrogen bonding, here you can clearly see that hydrogen of one of the OH group present on the nitrogen will bonded with another oxygen present on the nitrogen. So in this manner, two possibilities are there. Four hydroxy groups are participating in this kind of weak hydrogen bond formation. How many interactions are there? 1 and 2. So intramolecular hydrogen bondings are 2 in this. That is only given in the option number 1. So 4 nickel nitrogen bonds, 0 nickel oxygen bonds, 2 hydrogen bonds are there in this nickel dimethyl glyoxime molecule. So option number 1 is the correct answer for question number 26, right? Let us move on to question number 27. Among the following species, nickel as a dimethyl glyoxime atom, aluminium as a oxygenate, silver as a chloride, those that participate with the urea in the hydrolysis, right? So here precipitation titration carried with the nickel, aluminium, silver with the urea. Where precipitation get carried, we have to check. Okay, so nickel dimethyl glyoxime, just now in the previous question also we discussed about nickel dimethyl glyoxime atom ligand only, right? So in the similar manner, nickel DMG complex is gravimetrically estimated because of this precipitation titration only. When the gravimetry is possible, whenever any compound gets solidified, then only gravimetry is possible. In the precipitation titration only you will get the solid compound. If it is completely soluble, you can't get any precipitate, so that here weighing of compound may not be possible, right? So in the gravimetric analysis, nickel DMG can be estimated by treating with urea. See, it is very obvious that whenever dimethyl glyoxime denotes water, DMG was treated with nickel +2 in the presence of ammonia. From which ammonia is given? That ammonia is given from here. That ammonia is given from urea. What is urea? NH2 C double bond O NH2 is called urea. When urea added to water, it decomposed into ammonia and carbon dioxide. So because of this ammonia release, it is the essential nutrient for the plant growth, so that it is used as a fertilizer in the plant, in the croplands, right? And one more thing is, urea is the first synthetically produced organic compound in the laboratory, right? So this urea is decomposed into ammonia. That ammonia will facilitate this ring formation. Subsequently, it get precipitated and gravimetrically estimated. So that here urea used to generate the precipitate in between nickel and DMG. So this first option is the correct one. When we go with aluminium glycinato, this is a compound called aluminium glycinato, where we have this ring. What we can say, benzocondensed pyridine is called quinoline. This quinoline, how many are there? 3 quinoline units are there, and one more hydroxy group is also present at this position, that will be bonded with aluminium. In this manner, around the aluminium, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 coordinated complex compound is generated. And again, it can be precipitated whenever urea added to this compound. Aluminium oxygenate is gravimetrically estimated by treating with urea, because ammonia used to provide the pH of 4.2 to 4.6, which is the favorable condition for precipitation reaction. So that nickel and aluminium type of compounds will participate in the precipitation titration in the presence of urea rather than silver chloride. Silver chloride will not participate. A, B are participating. That is given in the option number 2. For question number 27, option number 2 is the correct answer. Let us move on to question number 28. If an enzyme fixes nitrogen in plants by evolving hydrogen, the number of electrons and protons associated with that respectively. This is the part of bio-inorganic chemistry, right? So here, nitrogen fixation. During the nitrogen fixation, hydrogen gas is evolved. So how many electrons and how many protons are required for this kind of nitrogen fixation? So during nitrogen fixation in the step one, what happens? Atmospheric nitrogen got converted into ammonium. The major component of the atmosphere or air will be a nitrogen, around 70% it is composed, and the next level will be oxygen in that case. So plants may not directly consume that nitrogen whichever present in the air. There is a certain process, nitrogen should be converted into ammonia, subsequently ammonia converted into nitrite followed by nitrate. These nitrates are suitable for the absorption by plants, and subsequently they are used to generate the protein and another materials for the plant growth. So this is a suitable form for the plant to absorb, right? So for that purpose there is a nitrogen cycle. So many biological processes have been carried in order to convert atmospheric nitrogen into nitrate form, right? So here what they are asking, during this conversion from nitrogen by evolving hydrogen, how many electrons and protons got reacted? For that purpose we have to go with the balanced equation. Nitrogen, by absorbing 8 protons and 8 electrons in the presence of 16 moles of adenosine triphosphate. What is ATP? ATP is nothing but source of energy whichever present in the living organisms. ATP is the kind of energy. When ATP got oxidized, then only energy will be released, right? Adenosine triphosphate. So this nitrogen, by associating with 8 H plus and 8 electrons, 16 ATP molecules, now it is transforming into ammonia, and whenever 6 hydrogens consumed by nitrogen and the leftover will be 2 hydrogens, so that here hydrogen will be evolved. Now ATP, adenosine triphosphate, turned into adenosine diphosphate, means one of the phosphate unit will be discarded from each ATP. So 16 ATP is used to discard 16 phosphorus units. So during this reaction, how many hydrogens electrons? 8 electrons, 8 protons will be absorbed. And this is a process called biological nitrogen fixation. The process is called conversion of this nitrogen into ammonia, and ammonia to nitrite, nitrite to nitrate. This is the entire transformation actually. So this entire transformation is said to be biological nitrogen fixation. So here responsible bacteria will be cyanobacteria. Dinitrogen to ammonia conversion is carried in the process of living organisms. So bacteria is used to convert this one in the presence of the enzyme called nitrogenase. This is a responsible enzyme which used to convert nitrogen into ammonia, ammonia to nitrite, and nitrite to nitrate. This is the sequence of transformation, right? So here the required answer will be 8 electrons and 8 protons are required for this transformation. So here for question number 28, option number 2 is the correct answer. Let us move on to question number 29. The particles postulated to always accompany a positron emission among. So the particle postulated to always accompany positron emission. What is meant by positron emission and what particles will be emitted in this process? Let us see. Positron emission is nothing but beta plus decay. So which is the subtype of beta decay is called proton emission. Proton emission alternatively known as beta plus decay. Okay, so in which proton inside the radionuclide nucleus is converted into a neutron while releasing positron and electron neutrino. So during this positron emission, what happens? So here radioactive nuclide was taken. From that radioactive nuclide, proton will be there. So in the central part, a proton will be there. That proton is converted into neutron. So initially proton is there. During the positron emission, that proton turned into a neutron. Along with the neutron, what happens? Positron is emitted and electron neutrino is also emitted. Here you can clearly see the simple example for this kind of positron emission. We are taking isotope of carbon. Carbon 11 was taken. So abundantly available carbon is carbon 12, right? It is the isotopic form of carbon, being it is highly unstable, having provision to emit. So that here carbon 11 now turned into boron 11 isotope. During this transformation, what happens? One of the beta plus ion will be emitted, and also this is called a neutrino. VE is said to be neutrino. Along with this emission, there is a possibility of larger extent of energy release. Always radioactive decay are said to be exothermic, so that energy release is energy emission is possible. Here during this transformation, 0.96 mega electronic volts of energy will be generated, right? So one is a beta plus particle, another is a neutrino will be discarded. So here we can clearly say this nu E is said to be anti-neutrino. So nu E is said to be anti-neutrino. So what will be emitted in this process? So in this positron emission process, antineutrino and one more will be electron will be emitted. B and C will be emitted. That is given in the option number 4. For question number 29, option number 4 is the correct answer. This is the question related with nuclear chemistry, right? Let us move on to question number 30. Toxicity of cadmium and mercury in the body is being reversed by the protein mainly using amino acid residue. Which amino acid is used? Glycine, leucine, lysine, cysteine. Which amino acid used to absorb this cadmium and mercury, and they will make this a non-toxic? Okay. In general, what cadmium and mercury are the metals. Whenever they are administrated into the living organisms, they will impart so many toxic or hazardous effects. So that here there is a natural remedy in order to minimize the toxicity of these two by introducing the protein, one of the certain protein which used to detoxify, which used to reduce the hazardous nature of these two metals. What could be? It will be. Let us see. So here is the structure of cysteine, where we have alpha amino acid, and on the side chain we have SH functional group, which is called this is SH, being it is SH functional group, thio alcohol group is there. This is the structure of cysteine. Cysteine is having sulfur. This sulfur is responsible to bind strongly with the cadmium and mercury, because cysteine sulfur is strongly philic, strong interaction with this cadmium and mercury, so it will form a strong bond, so that their binding efficacy with them and their toxicity will be reduced, because it's strongly binding with this one, and it will mask the activity of cadmium and mercury. Let us see the structure. So this is the chain of peptide chain, protein chain was given in these protein chain. Glycine, cysteine, glycine, such a kind of amino acid sequence will be there. Among all, specifically cysteine containing side chain SH, free SH groups are present within the molecule. These SH having strong intimacy towards binding with this cadmium, so that here the binding will be possible, and it will not be coming out freely. So it will be in the complexation with this cysteine, so that its activity will be reduced. In the same manner, instead of cadmium, you may take mercury. So in the same manner, it able to form such a caged like of compound, so that its toxicity will be reduced. So correct answer will be cysteine, being it is having free SH functional groups that will participate in the detoxification of cadmium and mercury. For question number 30, option number D is the correct answer. Let us move on to question number 31. Again, it is a part of inorganic chemistry. Nickel dibromide react with EtPH2P at a minus 78 degrees centigrade in carbon disulfide, gives red color compound A, which upon standing at room temperature turns a green color. Gives a compound B of a same formula. Measured magnetic moment of A and B are 0 and 3.2 Bohr magnetons respectively. The geometries of A and B are. Okay, so we are taking nickel dibromide. That nickel dibromide is treated with diphenylphosphine, ethyl diphenylphosphine, so that ethyl diphenylphosphine is able to bind with nickel, and there is a compound formed A. So here nickel having two possibilities. One is square planar compound formation by dsp2 hybridization. Second is tetrahedral geometry with sp3 hybridization. Both are possible. So from this magnetic moment, within the seconds, you can clarify that. So 0.0 is associated with square planar, 3.2 will be associated with tetrahedral, because it is very simple parameter. We can assume that always square planar complexes are said to be low spin, and always spin parity will be there. Whenever tetrahedral was given, they are high spin complexes. High spin complexes are spin parallel, so spin pairing will not be there. So from this magnetic moment data, you can assume which compound belongs to what kind of magnetic moment. Zero Bohr magnetons are corresponding with square planar geometry. 3.2 is corresponding with tetrahedral geometry. Okay, so compound A will be square planar, and after some time, slowly it transformed into tetrahedral geometry, so that its magnetic moment will be shifted to 3.2 Bohr magnetons. Let us see the detailed discussion. From the reaction nickel dibromide with ethyl diphenylphosphine, it is possible to isolate green crystals, red crystals of square planar, green crystals of tetrahedral will be there. Green crystals associated with 3.2 Bohr magnetons, red crystals are associated with red crystals of square planar geometry are associated with zero magnetic moment. Okay, so when either of these dissolved in the dichloromethane, the resultant solution is the magnetic moment of 2.6. This is the intermediate state. In between state will be there. Okay, so here suggest the structure. Green color is because of tetrahedral geometry, because here nickel participate in sp3 hybridization. Nickel participate in sp3 hybridization, and its magnetic moment will be 3.2 Bohr magnetons. And it is very clear that whenever it is attached with this kind of tetrahedral geometry, always it is considered as a high spin complex. High spin complexes spin of the electrons will not be paired, so that magnetic moment will be imparted. Whenever the molecule exists in the square planar geometry, being it is dsp2 hybridized, and nickel always considered as a low spin, all the electrons got paired. When electrons are not free, you can assign its magnetic moment will be 0. So from that data only you can clearly understand square planar complex will be red color, that is the compound number A, whose magnetic moment will be 0, and green color complex will be tetrahedral, sp3 hybridized, whose magnetic moment will be 3.2, right? So compound A